Hi there, welcome to yet another episode of Street Talk Online. My name is Sejong and I'll be your host for this week. So this is the third part of the Total Defense series, and for today, we take a look at economic defense. Economic defense is defined as the government, businesses, or the industry taking care of the economy as a whole. And of course, individuals like us working hard and improving ourselves to stay relevant. So for today's episode, we are going to ask our street talkers what exactly do they think their role is during this COVID-19 pandemic. Let's go! So my first question to you would be, what do you think is your role during this COVID-19 pandemic?
I work as a programmer, so mainly my job entails me to work with clients to build software. So part of it is to make sure that the business goes on. So we take the work home, we do our meetings online so that the job still goes on, we complete it, as well as using the extra time that we have because things are slower to train yourself and keep up with the scene, to work on, to find out what new technologies there are out there. I also make sure that I spend money. I do spend money on like groceries and necessities, so that I feel that by spending money, that helps the economy flow as well.
During this period, I think teachers also indirectly brought across a very strong message of resilience, and so I think that really connects with the whole idea of economic defense, because I think economic defense is not just finance. Really, it's the whole idea of how we can build Singapore to be this resilient country.
Our role in terms of economic defense is more like a morale boosting agent of like sanity or hope because there can't be any economic contribution other than that, because all of us don't have anything to do now.
So this is my second question to you. Do you think the government, business and industry are doing enough during this COVID-19 pandemic?
I think they're doing the right thing, but as in sufficient, I don't think so. There are so many other grey areas and things that Singaporeans would still want to argue with or don't find solutions. So I guess the government should impose a specific ruling or nothing that is so grey where Singaporeans don't know what to do, typically for home-based business.
For me, I think the government did step up. Besides the 600, they provide the 500 relief scheme also. I think that one really helps a lot. And when they do that, in my opinion, I think it helps. But some of my friends think that it is very minimal. But to me, at least something than nothing. For company part and industry, I think that some company can actually step up. Because I realized like in overseas, like Malaysia for example, one of the celebrity fashion designer, he actually take initiative to do PPE for their hospital sites and all that. I feel that some companies in Singapore can actually do such thing, like contribute masks or such PPE for like hospital and what. I feel like businesses in Singapore don't really they are just doing their own thing instead of getting involved as a community. They can do more.
So far, from my knowledge, I think the government is doing fairly well in managing the situation, in providing certain circumstances for businesses to operate. For example, the medical industry, the F&B industry, only for to ensure that its citizens are well maintained and ensure that our economic status fairly maintains its status in the long run, even though this pandemic is actually affecting quite a bit to our economic status. So I think the government is doing fairly well to maintain a certain standard in ensuring that our economy is not plummeting down at a really fast rate.
From the economic sense, just like where the impact for businesses is around costs, then I think that we have been actually very generous. I work in an international company and I have some exposure to what other governments are doing. And the Singapore government definitely seems to make it very easy. Like for example, my company automatically qualifies for the job support scheme. And it's been quite smooth through the whole process of understanding and getting communications. Even working from home, you have access, if you have the Hotpass login, to see what news the government has been sending us. So I think on that front, I feel that it is sufficient for businesses. But to be honest, I don't come from a small business background, so it is not fair to say whether this is something that is giving a float. And I think also that maybe what the government could do more of is maybe a more sort of softer the approach. Because right now, the press around what's been happening has been very much, yes, it's up to date on like what are the cases, how like the support scheme is helping businesses. But like, is there anything that is more humanized, something softer that is saying how we are staying together as a nation, that I feel that has kind of like been left to other agencies, like for example STV, that put together like a 900 strong choir from Singaporeans all over the world. But is it something that the government is actively trying to put together for the more psychological sanity and good of the people? That's something that I don't know.
So this is my third and final question. On a scale of 1 to 10, please rate the government's performance during this COVID-19 pandemic.
Actually give them about 6, 7. As I say, I think the government is taking steps, just that because now this period is getting prolonged, there has to be more done. The initial steps are not enough to I don't think they are enough to tide us over the full period. So it's either they give out maybe more monetary benefits in different periods, more grants, but I do think more has to be done.
Maybe a 7 to an 8, because I think the measures taken to control this pandemic is fairly good, in a sense where people are generally abiding by the laws and abiding by the rules, and businesses and certain industries they are allowed to operate during this time are committed to ensuring that they follow the proper guidelines that is being handed out by the government, and to ensure that businesses still operate as usual, even though there are certain limits that the company has to work at. So I think the government does fairly well in managing the situation.
I wouldn't give anyone 10 out of 10 because it's not a perfect world. Maybe in an 8, I guess, which is very good. I like how they were very open with everything that they've been doing, and I like how PMB, the way he addressed us and the way he wasn't trying to sugarcoat anything. I guess also it's because every day we see Donald Trump just going crazy online and like saying one thing and the next day saying another thing, and then like the thing that he said already caused so much damage. So like in Singapore, I know they really cautiously try to be transparent and communicate effectively, which is really good.
I rated 9. Just want to be objective and not to give like a full score. But really, firstly, the very big thing that jumped out for me is that Singapore had enough reserves to kind of like ensure that the country is surviving. You hear on the news that the governments have not kind of like set aside a super huge national reserve, and you can see that whole economies are crumbling. People are literally dying financially. Whereas for Singapore, yes, we do hear that as well, but we also do see that we have all these like welfare money being paid out to like all the Singaporeans, and even for myself personally, there is no cut. And for my sis who is a stewardess, they can submit this form very easily and get like help from the government's response financially. I think it really reflects economic defense, because the people up there, they've been thinking so much about how Singapore can remain like really unshaken during such a big crisis. And we can see that tourism is so strong for Singapore, and even without that powerful arm, we are still kind of like doing okay.
My rating of the government was probably at a 9, because they have been doing, based on what I saw, really well in keeping the COVID cases down.
So that's it for this episode of Street Talk Online. So it seems that this pandemic has not deterred Singaporeans from making a contribution to our nation's economic defense. And although there are enough done by the government, businesses and industry so far, there is still room for improvement, and our economic defense cannot be taken for granted. What do you think your role is in the economic defense of Singapore, and how will you rate our government's performance so far? Let us know in the comment section below. Like, subscribe and share this video for more exciting updates on Street Talk Online. My name is Sejong. See you next week.